YouTube. It's Brian with GreyWolf Towers again. So this is the project that I've been talking about for the past while now, my son's computer. Now he thinks that I'm just gonna clean it up a little bit type stuff for him, so he doesn't know what's actually going on. So just so you guys are aware, I'm gonna use a screwdriver for this because my hands don't turn the knobs as good as they should, so I'm gonna undo both sides of this real quick. And that way we'll be able to easily get to anything we need to. So, this is going to be a major overhaul. Alright, so if you want to see this, keep watching. A lot of it I'm going to be cutting out only because it's not going to be needed. But I'm going to try and do a bunch of this on here so you guys can see what I'm doing and everything. So there's the back. You can see my haphazard wiring real quick. So my angle's not the best, but I couldn't really do any better the way that the tripod's sitting and everything, so you won't be able to quite see everything that I'm doing, but you'll be able to see a lot of it. And like I said, this is going to be a major overhaul. So we're replacing the graphics card, the motherboard, the CPU cooler, the RAM, the hard drive is going to have an SSD as well as a hard drive, and I haven't decided if I'm going to upgrade the hard drive to a 1 terabyte after all. He doesn't really go through that much space, and I can add a 1 terabyte later, so I'm thinking I'll probably just go ahead and upgrade him to the SSD and keep the 500 gigabyte hard drive. So here we go. Alright. So it's not a bad system. The inside looks pretty good. The back plate kind of not so great because of the wiring. Not because it's bad or anything, just it's ketchup and mustard cables. I really couldn't avoid that. So, alright. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take out some of these pieces that we're going to need to replace. There we go. There we are. We're just going to take off this. Now this old card is actually a pretty good one. It is the Sapphire Radeon 470 Nitro Edition. So it's not a bad card. It's just getting a bit older now. This is the 4 gigabyte 470. So I'm going to go ahead and set that down over here. Alright, now I have to figure out how to pull that panel off, so it's going to take me a minute on that. And I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to end up reworking a couple of these cables to different positions, but we'll see. Boy, my fingers do not fit. There we go. There we are. Alright, so that is the front panel connectors and USBs and USB 3s and all that good yummy stuff. Now we're getting the CPU power. There we are. Alright. There we go. That is a case fan. That is a case fan. Alright. Now, before we take the motherboard out, we're going to go ahead and pull out at least this one fan. And then we'll have to look at the front panel a little better to get the other fan out. Or other two fans, sorry. And the good news is it looks like one of these screws here is actually stripped. So I'm going to actually replace these with a new set of screws on this back one. So that'll at least make it better for the future for me. These I don't want to get mixed up with stuff, so I'm going to put them over here because I am going to be throwing those away. Hang on 1 second here. Gotta get our trusty wire clippers. There we go. Looks good. Don't see any clips on the wire itself, so that's good. And like I said, I'm going to actually put these to use on another project. So, something that I haven't opened yet. Just bought these at a local store. Got a twin pack because I used the last of my other ones. So, there we go. And we'll set this down over here because I have a very specific project in mind for that. Now, as I stated, we're replacing all of the major inner workings. So, that means that we're going to be replacing the motherboard, CPU, CPU cooler, and RAM. Now, the CPU that I purchased as the replacement does come, the replacement CPU does come with a CPU cooler. However, Intel stock coolers, just to be honest, they kind of suck. They do an okay job at keeping it cool at stock settings, but they're not great. They're not spectacular, and honestly, they look kind of crappy. And so, it really just isn't something that I want in any of my computers. The AMD ones at least look a little nicer and work a lot better. They can actually handle a little bit of overclocking. These guys can't, but his CPU that I'm putting in here is not going to be overclockable anyway, so that part is kind of a moot point because he's not going to be overclocking an i3-8100. You know, it just isn't something that he's going to do, but I'm not going to do it for him either. Now, he will be able to eventually upgrade to an i5 or an i7 or even an i9 that can overclock. Now, wouldn't that be funny to give him an i9? I think that'd be kind of entertaining. Here, son, go do your schoolwork on this i9. And see, this here is the cooler that I gave him, and it's a little nicer than a stock one, but it's very close to a stock cooler. So it's essentially a stock cooler except for better fan blades. They're white. And then he's got standard RAM with what they call naked RAM. There's no heat spreaders to it. And so it's just a rather plain Jane type situation. So yeah. But it's a nice system. It worked great for what he does, and no problems there. I just want him to have a better upgrade path so that in the future he can have better stuff. So, alright, I'm going to take a minute to try and figure out this front panel. I've never opened it before. There we go. Not too bad, not too hard. Alright, now, okay, this is a really weird setup. So, alright, on the top one, it's all standard screws. On the bottom one, it's not. So, give me just a moment here to undo these and get this one out of the way, and then we'll go from there. Now, these fans were put in by the manufacturer. I haven't messed with them. These are not my doing. So, the stripping of the screw was totally the manufacturer, and these weird concoction of screws on the front are totally the manufacturer's choice in screws, not mine. I just have to live with it because, well, the case that I was given. This is the third screw, and this is the final screw for this fan. Alright, now for this one, like I said, two of these, the top two of these screws are just standard case screws. They look kind of weird. They're not traditional screws. They have the same features as a regular screw, but the bottom is flat and the top is flat and everything like you'd expect, and it's just a Phillips head. And they're kind of short, wider than you'd expect, things like that. They just look a little funky. Now, like I said, this was wired up specifically with what he had in mind, so probably going to have to undo a couple of zip ties and redo them and things like that. So the cable management might have to be redone a little bit, and you might see me do a little fast forward of some of that. But overall, I'm happy with the overall looks of it. And so we'll go from there. There we are. This is what I was saying, the two weird ones. They're really long screws, kind of like what you'd get with a all-in-one cooler that puts a front fan on, or sorry, with an all-in-one cooler that puts the fan on the cooler that goes through so that it has it all the way through the entire fan set, which is 25 millimeters by itself. Alright, so now we can go ahead and do this. Unhook these, disconnect that, and squish these here. There we are. So now I'm just gonna, there we go. Alright, and so these I'm gonna put aside over here as well for that other project because it actually needs 3 to 4 fans, so it'll be kind of cool. So that is them coming off. Now we get to put them on. Now I think we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, bottom, top, back. So this will be fan 1, this will be fan 2, there we are. And so for this I'm just plugging it into the little controller that came with it so that we have that going. So like I said, it's just a standard controller for this type of stuff. Now this one is the second fan, so this is going to be the first fan. And we're going to do bottom as the first fan, so I'm just going to go ahead and put these long screws in to hold it in place. And the other long screw. Alright, now, so that's the outside screws. We are going to need to put 2 inside screws for this one, so I'm going to... And the dampening pads on these should help with any vibrations from the fans, which hopefully are slightly better than the other ones that came stock. I'm just going to go ahead and finish this one off real quick. And so this will make sure that the system has proper airflow. Just getting rid of some dust. That way it starts with a clean slate. 2 screws down. 2 to go on the front, and then we'll switch to the back. Last screw for the front ones. Alright, so that is the front 2 fans. Alright, so that's how they're going to sit. Now we put the front cover back on. So here's the front panel. Now for this, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of get rid of some of this here. And we will put these back on. Alright, so now the front fans are complete, which actually looks like they're at least close to where they should be, so that's good. We're just gonna clear out any dust that might have been in there, because we want to make sure that we keep it nice and clean. Screws. There we go. Like I said, I got to replace the back screws because, well, they stripped one of them, and I'm not about to just replace one. And honestly, if it's stripped, I want to get it taken care of. Just want to make sure that we have it facing the correct way. So we want it so that the exhaust is blowing out the rear of the case. The inside front fans are blowing it in from the outside. So we need this to blow it out so that the air goes with a current from the front in through the back and out. So, and that's what we're doing. All right. So now with two in place, we can tip it and it won't fall over, and I can do it with my good hand. I hate it when they put the same sticker on the front and the back of the fans. Always makes me think that something's going on where I got it backwards, but I didn't. All right, so this will be fan number 3. I'm going to just lock that into the 3rd place here. So there you go. It is now in place there. So that takes care of that part of this. Now, we are going to need to put the SSD in. And I did not grab my screws for the SSD, so give me 1 minute. Alright, got my cables and got my screws. So let's go ahead and pull this off. These studio lights, they get hot after a while. Alright, so now this power cable, there we go. So there we are. So now all of that is connected. We won't be needing our splitter for the fans anymore because the fans will go through the controller instead. So that's good. And alright, so we can get rid of this, and we're going to use these later, but we're going to get this other stuff here off here, thrown away later. And we'll actually mount this later when we are ready to. We're just going to, for now, put it down here. Through here. So now, like I said, we're not done managing the cables, we're just done aligning them. But we need to move from one to the next, so our RAM, our CPU, and our motherboard. So now, should go this way. It's one of those cases that I've told about in previous videos where the part where the I/O shield goes in does not perfectly match the average I/O shield size, thus causing it to not fit properly. Alright. Just take a little extra effort is all. Now, for the fun part. Now, we're not going to pull several mistakes that the Verge video did. This, we're not throwing behind us. Put it in the box because we'll need it later in case we need to send this in for repairs or damages. Alright, now I'm going to put this aside because, like I said, we're not going to use the stock cooler because, well, we don't like the stock cooler. And this is an i3 8100, which is a quad core, which means 4 cores. Essentially, this is the brain of the machine, and it's got 4 little brains inside. That's all it means. Don't worry, I'm not going to pull another Verge and go, that's right, we got one! Because, you know, everybody can buy one. Everybody with the $118 at least. You just gently set it in, I know you guys couldn't see it, but you just gently do it. Line it up with the notches. It's pretty easy. There's 2 little notches on the CPU. That's all it is. And then for this, you just put it down, and it locks into place with that. That's all it is. And you end up with the CPU installed. And so we will not be applying thermal paste. So we are not going to just assume that it needs thermal paste, and we're not going to be stupid and put a whole crap ton on it. Now this motherboard is a lot shorter than the previous one was as far as size. It's approximately 2 inches shorter, give or take. So in the grand scheme of things, that's a lot shorter. So sorry you're missing part of my head, but it's not really that big of a deal. You know what, before I put these screws in, we're gonna make sure we don't commit another no-no. We're going to, ta-da, the AIO. And this is only the 3rd AIO that I've ever installed. So I don't usually use these things. I don't like the risk to the machines usually, but in this case it's going to look a lot nicer than the alternative. So it does come pre-applied, so we are not going to pull a verge and apply another package of it. I am, however, wondering why there's 2 fans with a single fan design. Very interesting. So this design actually states that what they want you to do is they want you to mount a fan on the front here and the rear here and mount it to the back. However, I'm not comfortable doing that, so I'm going to mount it differently. You know what, I'm actually considering not mounting this at all, because I really don't want to run the risk having it not function correctly. One step at a time. So we are going to connect the powers so they stay out of the way. This is essentially the reverse of what we started doing by taking out the motherboard. It's not a big deal. Just putting it in, it takes a couple screws. There will be a couple of these pieces that aren't going to be used because the other board, like I said, was longer, so it's not a big deal. Alright, now, I have never used this motherboard, so I'm just going to take a quick peek at something. Okay, so A1 and A2 and B1 and B2. So it's the A2 and B2. So we need A2 and B2. And just to make sure I get the right ones, A2 and B2. Okay. So it's the 2nd from the CPU and the 4th from the CPU. So, and again, I've got a video on installing RAM. It's pretty easy, so not a big deal. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and mount this. We're going to need to do this a specific way. And like I said, I've only done a couple of these, so I'm kind of new at this still. Perfect. Okay. So that is going to fit right. Alright. So now, with the motherboard in place, alright, we have to put the bracket in. Now for the bracket, we're going to use 2 of these at first, and then we'll put the other 2 in. So we went ahead and we adjusted these so they're on the inner side, which for this cooler is for the 1155 series. And these should match up pretty easily to these here, which they do. And then just screw these in. Now, I've said it before, I prefer the star pattern or the alternating one side diagonally to the other. I do not like to do 2 on the same row on most things because it can sometimes tighten it too much on one side. So for this, I'm alternating diagonally across from the CPU one side to the other. And then switching back. And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering why I even have a DVD drive in my son's computer, and honestly it's mostly because he likes to watch movies. We've got a pretty good selection of movies on DVD still, and so I like him being able to watch a movie on DVD. That way it's just a little, you know, he gets to have some fun. The girls don't watch DVDs as much. They're bigger and don't really care so much. And now, so as I said before, I'm kind of new to this, so we're gonna do this here. I really don't think there's going to be enough room in here for it to run 2 of these fans, especially since this is as close as it is. I'm not even sure it's going to fit 1. Oh, that's not good. All right. We're just not going to be able to use this case for this fan set. Yeah, it's not going to fit. That really sucks. Oh well. Alright, so we will have to not use this. Kind of sucks. I was hoping to not use... I know it sucks, but it's the first kind of fresh build that I've done one in. I've upgraded my own personal machine, to an AIO, and that was the first experience I had. And honestly, it's kind of difficult to do it that way. Because the AIO doesn't fit, we're gonna have to use the stock cooler, which is not my first choice. So I'm just gonna do a little cleanup because I started getting it all ready for it. You gotta love it when your plans don't work the way you'd hope. But I digress, as Jay from Jay's 2 Cents would say. Sometimes we just gotta do things we don't normally want to do. In this case, we're going to be using a stock cooler, which I really hate, but it's alright. Okay, so it's in place. Alright. So now with the system back to the way it should be, as far as the CPU, motherboard, RAM all in place, now I just have to reconnect everything. Get it all back to the way it should be, and then I'll have to put the video card and all that kind of stuff in place. Alright, so we should be in good shape there. So this is going to be to SATA port 1, there we are. This will be SATA port 2. This will be SATA port 3, like so. Alrighty. Sorry, I'm not as fast as I used to be. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be either. So, alright. Alright, so I do believe that that part of it is done. So now we get to do the other part, which is going to be the video card. So it's not a monumental upgrade, however, it will be a performance boost. I'm switching him from the RX 474 GB to an RX 574 GB. So not a huge boost. I'm expecting somewhere in the, I don't know, 5 to 10% performance boost. Huh. Well, we're going to be bumping these down a little then. So apparently, long cards don't work with these SATA ports in place, so I'm going to have to bump those a few spaces down. There we go. Alright. And this card only uses one 6-pin adapter, so it's essentially the same power draw as 470. So he's not going to have any additional adapters or anything plugged in that he didn't have before. Alright. Alrighty. So I do believe that's everything. So this is now what the system looks like. So yeah. The only thing that's going to be an issue is going to be the fans. gonna have to figure that one out. Make sure that it works that way, and then you can see about rewiring it on the back here. We'll do the cable management again if we need to on the back. And again on these I do the star pattern diagonally across, and that way it doesn't break or shatter anything that it shouldn't. And a nice thing about the back side here is that although it's clear the way that he sits it, it's not going to be visible, so the cable mess isn't a big deal right now anyway. But you can see from this side that it's not the prettiest thing. So now the next thing is we'll get to see his face when he sees it. Go from there. So in short, I would like to say thank you everyone for watching my videos. Thank you for watching this video especially. And I appreciate the comments, and please leave more comments on this video, but I appreciate the comments you've all left on my other videos. I like the comments that I've gotten so far on other videos, and I look forward to the comments that I'll see on this video. And I hope that if you like this information, that you'll go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so you can keep up to date on new things that I put out, and hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching everyone. Bye. Hey, Ethan. Come here. Yeah, his room is a mess. I got some bad news for you. What? Remember I told you I was going to use your computer for a video to show what it looked like and everything? I kind of broke something. What did you break? Oh, come here and look. Sorry, Booga.
No. You didn't. You did.
So look at me. What do you say?
Thank you, Daddy.
I love you.
I love you too.